studio. I just figured it was smart enough to sign me in and keep me.
Yeah, you know, that's happened to me too. It is weird that StreamYard hasn't figured that out.
All right, I just enabled it. Let's see what happens. Can you go on my Twitter and see if it's there? Like, you see something, Jason?
Yeah, well,
probably show it differently for me.
Yeah. All right, well, it says live, so give me a second and I'll show you what I see. Do you see what I see? Oh no, are we close enough for Christmas songs? So yeah, it shows live. Probably over. Yeah. Okay. So live on X. So anybody following you will get this little call out. Okay. I guarantee you our numbers are going to jump, and they already are going pretty fast. They definitely jump faster when you're broadcasting to Twitter because everybody's like in the moment, like, oh, that just popped up. Okay. And they jump over. At least that's been my experience with Jeff Jarvis doing it for nice. AI Inside. So yeah.
Great first time to try it out.
I'll be interested.
There's been so much confusion with the rollout of Android 15 today. Like, I've been answering so many questions. You were like, oh, where's this feature? Why is this feature not available? Or like, I thought I saw it in one video, but it's not available yet. And like, I'm sorry, but my article didn't say that feature's available. So like,
Dylan on X says, oh,
we're getting some comments from X.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. You have the premium X account, so you can do this. If I had premium Twitter, I would do this, but I don't feel like paying Twitter.
Yeah, I know. I
think it's different.
I don't want to have to.
I totally get it. I totally get it.
It makes sense for you, dude. No judgment. Like, if we wish we could like do without it, but it definitely makes sense for you. It's totally cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's close this off, Jason, and focus back on the stream so we don't get comments about it all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we are about to get things started. There is no Ron Richards today. I mean, he does exist in the world, but he's just not here tonight. He is leaving early in the morning tomorrow, and so I think he is
like really early, like 5 a.m. or something like that.
He has to be up at like 4 a.m. East Coast, which is like 1 a.m. Pacific, which is 8 hours from now. So yeah, hopefully he's asleep, but I doubt he is because normally he'd be doing the show right now. Showbot needs to be reset. I don't know how to do that, Cousin of Jaw. That's not within my capabilities, unfortunately. But maybe speaking it out loud will motivate or alert the right folks to do that. And then I'm happy to do the open stuff. Unless you want to, Win. Would you like to?
No, you go ahead, Jason. I'm still typing some notes. I'm sorry. It was a rough day. So I'm typing notes. So
cool.
Oh gosh, this is very hazardous. I'm drinking around my boom arm.
I think you need to continue every word that you say should be into that bottle, so it had that like neat flanging effect. That was pretty interesting.
Wait, hold on. There we go. Hello, Android faithful. I should start like a jug band. Wait, I don't. How do you do that? There you go. Oh, we don't need a jug. We just need Jason.
Yeah. It's true. Oh, the plushie. I saw the plushie on a few different articles today.
Oh, yeah.
He's
definitely a centerpiece of my hero images from now on.
Yeah. I think it's a good shtick, if you want to call it a shtick. It's a good signature. Let's put it that way.
You can immediately tell when an image is from me, just because I have the same
trademark,
the same little like fake wooden little poster thing that I use. Yeah. The same droids, like the same little background, and now
you just have it all set up and ready to go. You're like, all right, here we go again. Get the screenshot up, put it on the set, click. You don't. I mean,
honestly, when I need to make it like a featured image, right? It's just so convenient now. It takes me like maybe a minute at max.
Awesome, love it.
Get everything set up.
Work smarter, not harder, as they say. I keep trying that, by the way. It sounds a lot easier than it actually is to work smarter, not harder.
You have to be smart to begin with, and I struggle with that part.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. Yeah, live numbers jumping. We're at 230, 231 right now.
Hey, y'all.
Good work. Because we are streaming to multiple places. Should we get this show a rolling?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Kick it off. Kick the jams.
Don't want to leave
as
too many people
no one
waiting.
says. Exactly. Okay, then I'm going to remove temporarily Michelle from the stage. I'm going to remove temporarily Win from the stage in mid-gasp. So you just heard... And I'm going to overlay a graphic, a fancy graphic, just to remind you of who we are. We are Android Faithful. Turn off the loop on the background music and prepare yourselves for the awesomeness that is today's show. We've got a lot of great stuff. Oh, actually, but before I do the overlay, sorry, because we do have a sponsor. That's right. I have this whole order of things that I have to do. Okay. Let's see if I can get it right. Oh, hold on one more second. I'm going to not show the bookmark bar. Maximize real estate. Okay, here we go. And then after that, I'm going to go that. Okay. That off and then music. Okay, I think I know. This episode and all of our Droidcon NYC coverage is brought to you by Verimatrix Cybersecurity, protecting the applications that drive the digital economy. Learn more at verimatrixcybersecurity.com. Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Android Faithful, your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the world of Android, for the galaxy of Android even. I'm one of your hosts, Jason Howell.
I'm another of your hosts, Huyen Tuet Dao.
And I'm the third host for tonight, Michelle Ramon.
With the plushie standing
cute
in
little
for
plushie.
Yeah.
Ron Richards.
The plushie might weigh in from time to time on stories as it sees fit, in place of Ron Richards, who is sleeping, hopefully, right now, because he has to get up really, really early tomorrow.
Shall we ask the plushie what it thinks of YouTube music podcasts?
What?
Should we ask the plushie what it thinks of podcasts on YouTube Music or YouTube?
Oh, YouTube. I thought you said you too, music podcasts. I'm like, do we have music podcasts? Us too? Me and Michelle? I totally didn't hear that correctly.
Oh, that's my
yeah,
bad.
what opinions do you have, huh? Plushie? Huh? What do you think about antitrust, and Google, and stuff?
All the important topics.
Yeah.
Plushie will answer.
I think maybe the
Well,
plushie...
I have no
yeah.
mouth, but I must scream.
Okay,
Excellent reference.
for the entire for the entire episode, Michelle will be just a dancing plushie doll while he speaks. No, that won't happen. But if you read any of Michelle's articles, you will see the plushie in the background. We were talking about that in pre-show, how it's become a really wonderful signature for Michelle's updates, which we are going to talk about this week because we've got a lot of news on that front. Some really
So many
big
updates.
news.
Oh wait, hold on. I forgot. I don't have a plushie. I have this very rigid plastic one.
Where'd you get
Love
that from?
fingers.
That's pretty cool.
That's Dead Zebra, actually.
Oh,
Our
really?
friend Dead
They
Zebra,
sell
yeah.
A
Used to.
figurine that big?
Yeah, it actually. Hold on. You can put things inside of him.
Oh, so it holds things.
You can.
Aw.
If I don't break him, but there is a space in here for things. I'm not gonna.
So I wish I was downstairs, because if I was downstairs, I would pull out my big Android thing. Yes, it's a container. It's kind of like a cooler. You could put a little thing of ice down there and then store your chocolates.
Serve
so
some
don't...
vanilla ice cream from it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
That's an excellent idea.
That's a great idea.
You should start a photo shoot for that.
Is it insulated? I wonder.
It's thick. It's very thick.
It must be at least
got
a little
thick walls.
insulated.
It's
Yeah.
definitely thick walls.
Yeah, look
Oh
at
my
that.
gosh.
Look at that. Downstairs, I have an Android. It's a blue translucent Android, probably about the size of my head. And I don't know where I got it, but I know I got it many years ago. I think I got it around the time of Jelly Bean. And so it was meant to hold jelly beans, and it was like
I
filled
remember
to the
that one.
top of jelly beans. So Maybe that's what I need to do. I need to go buy a bunch of Jelly Bellies and just fill it up and, just for the whole effect. Maybe I'll do that.
Sorry, I snapped I crushed my fingers. He chomped on my fingers as I put his head back on. Ow, that hurt. Anyway.
He was getting hungry. He wanted to eat jelly beans and ice cream.
I guess my fingers look jelly bean-like. Okay, sorry. Sorry.
We've got a lot to discuss. Before we do, just want to go ahead and thank really quick our patrons, patreon.com/AndroidFaithful. You will get more throwouts and thank yous here in a little bit, but I just want to call your attention to that. It's a great way to support us and what we do each and every week. And of course, AndroidFaithful.com is the website, which you definitely want to go to today. We're going to go there plenty of times during this show because Mr. Mishal Rahman has written many articles on the site that we're going to talk about, starting with the top news. So why don't we just jump right into it, Mishal? What you got?
More like, what does Google got? Because they have a whole lot of updates rolling out today. They have, first of all, the Android 15 stable update that comes with the latest Pixel drop news. So I'm going to separate the two into two separate topics because, there's a lot of features that are in Android 15 that aren't necessarily part of like the Pixel drop set of exclusive Pixel features. So starting out with the Android 15 update itself. So this update is rolling out starting today, and it may have already reached your devices. It's available for the Pixel 6 and later, including the Pixel tablet. And it fixes a whole number of bugs that you can see here in this article. I kind of list them copy-pasted from Google's changelog. But in terms of what actual new software features are available in the update, I kind of listed some that I think you should care about or should actually look into after you update, starting with private space. So this is a feature if you've used a Samsung phone and you use a secure folder feature or like a Xiaomi phone and a second space feature. Private space is kind of similar to those, where you create a secondary profile where you can install its own set of apps, and all that data and apps are siloed from the main profile. And when you create the second space, it basically lives as like a card within the Pixel Launcher app drawer. And this card is locked either through the same lock screen PIN, password, or pattern, or a separate one that you can create through settings. And you can optionally hide this private space entirely so that it doesn't even appear in the launcher at all or anywhere in settings. But it's totally up to you how you want to set it up once you create the private space in Android 15 settings. Next up is app archiving support. So Android 15 lets you archive apps, which basically removes their installation files but doesn't delete the data, so that when you go to unarchive it, you don't have to go and set the app up again. And archiving an app basically just frees up a bunch of storage space. So like, if you download a big app like Uber, but you only use Uber on occasion, you can archive it so that it doesn't take up nearly as much space as it used to. And then when you actually know you need to use it, you can unarchive it, which just downloads the APK file again from the Google Play Store. Then you have more secure screen shares. Basically, when you start screen share, Android will automatically redact sensitive notification content or OTP codes. You have predictive back gesture animations, which is something that Google introduced in Android 13 as a developer option, but is now enabled by default, so long as the apps that you're using support this feature. It's still something they have to actually support.
Is there a lot of support out there for that?
No.
No.
There's hardly any apps that support it right now.
Because I'm looking at the animation, I'm like, I haven't really seen a whole lot of that so far.
Yeah, so this feature just lets you see where you're going before you actually complete the back
through.
gesture.
Yeah,
you can peek behind your back gesture.
It's cool.
Next,
looking.
for tablets and book-style foldables, you have app pairs, which basically allows you to create a shortcut to launch two apps in split screen mode. And you can access this by opening two apps in split screen mode, swiping up to the recents menu, and then long pressing on the icons, then tapping the Save App Pair button. Taskbar pinning is another feature that's available only for large screen devices. This allows you to switch between the floating, smaller transient taskbar and the older persistent taskbar. So basically, you have this this taskbar that's available on your Pixel Fold or your Pixel tablet. It only takes up part of the screen, and every time you want to access it, you have to swipe up a little bit to get it to show up. But if you are frequent multitasking and you want to actually constantly switch between apps, you kind of want that taskbar to be pinned to the bottom of the screen, which is what this allows you to do. So now when you swipe up the taskbar, you can press and hold on an empty spot and then tap the Always Show taskbar toggle to pin it to the bottom of the screen. Another feature that's exciting if it's adopted by a lot of apps is edge-to-edge mode by default. So this feature will basically force apps to draw underneath the status bar and the navigation bar if they target Android 15. The thing is, this is something that apps can still opt out of. So we don't know for sure, whether or not a lot of apps are actually going to be forced into edge-to-edge mode by default, depending on how many of them opt out.
What kind of apps would this really serve in a great way? You know what I mean? Like the edge-to-edge.
Kind of like
thing.
apps. I think
Media.
like Google Maps, for example. Apps where you really want to see as much content as possible.
Yeah.
Being
You don't
able
need
to
big,
like
thick borders
have
or
it
whatever.
draw underneath the status bar and the navigation bar so that you can see it. Even though those normally take up a lot of space, right? On like tall
Yeah.
phones.
Right.
Yeah, any kind of media app, photos, video in
Right.
particular.
Makes it more immersive, kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely more
that
immersive
I
experience.
word. Immersive.
You have a home control screensaver on tablets and phones, which basically allows you to have always on access to your smart home controls. For
Ooh, I
example,
like
through the
that.
Google Home app
Really
or the
like
Home
that.
Assistant
Nice.
app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a
this is
screensaver that you can
It's-
use.
Yeah. And this feature is not limited to Pixel phones. Like, it's available on other devices that support screensavers on Android 15. But some OEMs disable screensavers entirely, so you may not get it on your device when you update.
And would the screensaver actually show these as live, or is it just like a still image pulled from? And what I'm talking about for audio listeners is part of the home interface is like a little, the home user interface has these little tiles that are the actual cameras for like your doorbell or your yard
It should
cam.
be
Or
it
whatever.
should be live because it's the same.
That's cool.
It's the same interface, the same activity that shows up right now when you open the home controls panel from the lock screen shortcut or from the quick settings. It's the exact
Wow.
same like activity
That's so neat.
that's being launched.
I love that. I want that.
Yeah, it'd be really useful on tablets, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Next
It's almost
up,
like
have
you don't need any of your home your Nest Hub. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? More and more, it's like these features from things like Nest Hub are just kind of swallowing into your standard tablet. That's cool.
Next up, you have a redesigned volume panel with a lot thicker sliders, and it's also collapsible when you're playing music. Like any music or video or something, it's collapsed by default. It's just a total redesign of the volume panel. And then you
that
have
looks
a
nice.
new Bluetooth auto on feature, which basically this is a toggle that will automatically turn on Bluetooth again tomorrow when you go to turn Bluetooth off. Like, this toggle will be enabled by default. So this basically will just make Android turn Bluetooth back on in case you turn it off. But you have the choice of whether or not you actually want Bluetooth to be automatically re-enabled the next day. You can just deselect this toggle that appears in settings.
This makes so much sense, but I wonder what kind of user/bug reports they got to make this feature happen. Like, dear Google, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just not that apparent of a feature, but it makes a lot of sense now that I know it exists. You know what I'm saying? So
It's probably like they're probably targeting like people who turn off Bluetooth to save battery, and then they only re-enable it when they actually want to connect some Bluetooth earbuds. But they don't really. Bluetooth doesn't actually take that much battery.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like targeting this, this use case because they want to boost adoption of like quick share and like Find My Device especially, right?
for sure.
You need Bluetooth for those to work.
Well, I can think of another use for this. So we have a Tesla, and the phone connects to the car as the key via Bluetooth. And there have been times where I turn off Bluetooth because I don't want the headphones like one example is downstairs. If I'm watching TV and I want my headphones to connect to the TV, sometimes they connect to my phone first. I'm like, don't do that. So I turn off Bluetooth on the phone. And then the next time I get into the car to go somewhere, it like yells at me because it's like, well, I'm not going anywhere. You don't have a key. I'm like, oh, the Bluetooth is off. This would be a perfect solution for that.
All right. Next up, you have some additional security for settings. So, for example, if you try to change the USB mode, increase the screen timeout, or turn off Find My Device, Android will now ask you for authentication before you can change those settings. You also have, for accessibility purposes, a new color contrast menu that allows you to adjust the contrast of text, buttons, and icons. Next up, Google is bringing back the ability to control the volume of speaker groups while casting. So this is a feature that they removed in 2021 due to their legal dispute with Sonos. But in an earlier Android 15 beta, which is carried over into the Android 15 stable, you can control the volume of speaker groups without being inside the app that you started the cast session in. So, for example, you can now control the volume through the volume keys when you're casting to a speaker group. And there's a couple other things. You have richer widget previews. You have apps that target Android 15 can show a more personal or relevant widget preview. Apps can also take advantage of a single-step, one-click sign-in process using passkeys. So instead of tapping the passkey you want and then your screen lock, you can just have both in a single screen.
Oh, that helps.
Yeah, to speed up the ability, speed up the use of passkeys.
Yeah.
And then lastly, you have some improvements around factory reset protection, which is a feature that kicks in if someone tries to force a factory reset through recovery instead of through Android's normal settings option. So factory reset protection is getting more secure, which should hopefully make Android phones less enticing for phone thieves and thus make them less likely to be stolen.
Shut them down. This is a significant update, I have to say. Joe in our live chat says on the Pixel 8 Pro, I have the update. It was 1.3 gigs. I mean, that's a lot of features that you just rattled off.
That's just Android 15, which I didn't even cover everything, right? Yeah. There's also a lot of new features that are coming as part of the Pixel drop. So this is the set of Google exclusive app updates and Google exclusive features that the company is rolling out alongside Android 15. So what new features are available? I wrote an article with this huge chart that basically lays out all the features that are coming on a per device basis that you can go here if you want to see, is this feature available on my phone or is it not available on my phone? And then some of the new features, some of the highlights I wanted to bring up in terms of new features is night sight for Instagram. So the Instagram app can now tap into the Pixel camera's night sight algorithm for better low light photos. You'll see like this new night icon if you're using the Instagram app. And there's a little confusion there. Google initially told us that this wouldn't be available on A series phones. Their blog post says it's available on all phones from the Pixel 6 onwards. But then their support forum post says it's available on all phones except for the Pixel 6a. So I contacted Google and hopefully they'll clarify exactly which Pixel phone it's available on. Next up, you have underwater photography and video taking. So in the Pixel camera app directly, you can take underwater photos and videos using a new mode that's available on the Pixel 9 series, excluding the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. And you no longer need a dedicated app and a special Kraken Sports dive case in order to take advantage of this. You just need any waterproof case and your Pixel phone and the latest version of the Google camera app or the Pixel camera app.
And it's just tuning of the camera for the colors and environments of underwater for the most part, or does it actually?
Yeah, it's like it's like a special mode that's tuned to taking photos and videos underwater.
Interesting. I don't know how that escaped my radar, but I wasn't even aware of that.
Yeah. And Audio Magic Eraser is now getting an update that lets you turn specific sounds up or down, as well as separate the voices of different people, so you can adjust their volume independently.
That's so cool.
This feature is available globally on the Pixel 8 series, but only in limited markets for the Pixel 9 series. Astrophotography is now getting easier to access in the latest Pixel camera version. You just tap on the night sight icon and then slide over to Astro mode. On the Pixel 8 Pro and the Pixel 9 Pro and Pro XL, which have their temperature sensor, the thermometer app now has a camera viewfinder. So you can just point it at an object and it'll automatically pick the right mode so that you don't have to like manually choose the material yourself.
It detects this shows ceramic and glass. And it's like, oh, I know what you're pointing it at. You're pointing it at skin. I imagine, if you're taking someone's temperature, probably does that too. That's neat.
The Pixel Weather app is now available globally on the Pixel 6 and newer. It was previously exclusive to the Pixel 9 series. And the app is also getting a new pollen tracker, which lets you check pollen index levels, pollen types, and forecasts. Although currently, this pollen information is only available in France, Germany, Italy, and the UK. You have an expansion of next-gen call screen to Japan and the UK. The Pixel Launcher can now recommend categories of widgets for you. You have an adaptive vibration feature on the Pixel 7 and later that uses your phone's mic and other sensors to basically detect the ambient sound level and then automatically adjust the vibration intensity. So, for example, if you're in a quiet environment like a library, your phone's vibration will be reduced to the minimum so it doesn't like vibrate really loudly and cause everyone else to be bothered. And a couple other things. You have Gemini extensions for Pixel Screenshots, so now you can just ask Gemini to find something in the Pixel Screenshots app instead of opening the Pixel Screenshots app itself. And of course, the Pixel Screenshots app is something that's still exclusive to the Pixel 9 series. You have notification dismissal syncing, which is a feature that lets you sync notification dismissal. So when you dismiss a notification on your Pixel phone, it'll automatically be dismissed on your Pixel tablet as well. This is something you have to opt into, though, and it requires both devices to be connected to a Wi-Fi network to work. You have finally another feature Google announced way back, which is called Cast to Nearby Devices. This feature will allow you to transfer media playback from your Pixel phone to your Pixel tablet just by bringing it close to your tablet. And this will transfer either Spotify songs or YouTube videos between devices. This only works if you have a Pro Pixel phone because it requires the use of an ultra-wideband chip, which is also available on the Pixel tablet. And very quickly, some features they announced for the Pixel watches and the Pixel tablet. The Pixel watches are getting a new contacts tile that lets you choose one contact to prominently display, along with quick actions to call them or message them. You can send emoji reactions to emails from your Pixel Watch. The Pixel Watch 3, the loss of pulse detection feature that basically identifies when your heart stops beating. That feature is expanding to 3 more countries in the EU, including Belgium, Italy, and Spain. And then finally, for the Pixel tablet, Google is introducing the panel screensaver, as I mentioned previously, that home control screensaver. They are also introducing an update to the photo frame that allows you to share, favorite, or archive photos from the screensaver. And they're also introducing some new clock screensavers on the Pixel tablet. And last but not least, Gemini is expanding to all Pixel Buds, including the first-gen Pixel Buds Pro, the A series, and the original Pixel Buds.
Okay, this is Gemini access through the buds onto the phone, essentially. It's not like Gemini is on the buds, but
right. You're just talking to Gemini.
Gemini syncing or communication.
And starting it from your buds, starting the conversation.
Yeah. Cool.
I think audio listeners need to know that during that, Jason also bravely decided to start downloading the update for his phone and install it. I don't know. I was actually getting rather worried.
Is this a bad idea?
Jason, in the history of Jason doing things live on the show, is going to look for his 15 update.
I don't know. I feel reasonably comfortable about this. Update size 1.07 gigs, it says, and
you'll be fine.
In process. Yeah, I'm not too concerned about this. It's not like I'm doing something dumb like enabling 2-factor authentication during a podcast. That's so stupid. Who would ever do that?
Who would do that? Jason did.
Yes.
No, that's
very
true.
quickly, since we already spent a lot of time on this, there's 2 other blog posts that I published. One of them just talks about the global expansion or the global rollout of the depth detection lock, offline device lock, and the remote device lock features. So I already talked about this on a previous episode where Google is rolling these features out. Google just today made that official. They're rolling these 3 features out globally for all Android users with Android 10 or later.
Sweet.
So these features basically just try to lock your device in case it gets stolen so that, the thief can't get access to your data. Depth detection lock, basically, if someone snatches your phone out of your hand, it'll detect that and then lock the phone. Offline device lock detects when your phone has been offline and its screen is on for a period of time, and it'll try to lock it when that happens. And then remote device lock lets you remotely lock your device using just your phone number. So if you don't know or can't get access to your Google account password to sign in to Find My Device, all you need is your phone number to remotely lock it. And then Google also teased a new identity check feature that you can read about in this article. They didn't really share much information about it, but we'll hopefully have more details soon. And then lastly, Google announced Android 15 for businesses as well. There's not really much to talk about here in terms of, for users, obviously, because this is an update for businesses. But they basically just talked about how features like circle to search, private space can impact corporate-owned, personally enabled devices or COPE devices, and how IT admins can control them or disable them if they desire.
No big deal. It was just a normal, boring day in the world of Android. Nothing new to report.
Nope.
Man, it seems like we could have done an entire show about Android features that were rolled out today. That's insane. Like this of the avalanche of the days where updates hit, this seems really like substantial. Like very, very meaty. There's a lot of like features that I'm like, oh wow, oh I'm excited for that one. Oh, I'm excited for that one. And I feel like in the last handful of years, it's like a feature or two here and there that really get me excited, and everything else is like, okay, that's neat. This one has, between Android 15 and the feature drops and everything, it's very substantial.
When you list the features like I just did, like one by one, it sounds like there's a lot of changes, but
yeah,
in terms of actual big user-facing changes, there's admittedly not a lot. But there are a lot of under the hood and smaller changes that Google has been making to prepare for the next release, which I think is going to be massive. Mm-hmm. And as we'll talk about later, there are some really exciting features coming in the next Android update that I think are really, really exciting.
But you know what? In order for those updates to happen, Google has to navigate through another mess that that hopefully means it continues to, I don't know, own Android, basically. I don't know if I'm making it a bigger deal than it actually is, but man, things are not sounding very good for Google right now as far as this whole antitrust smackdown. The U.S. Department of Justice considering major changes to Google's structure, including, yes, a breakup of the company to a certain degree, and this follows a court ruling that we've talked about in recent episodes, finding Google to have a monopoly in the search market and with Android and deals with Apple and all that kind of stuff. Basically, it aims to prevent Google from using products like Chrome, like Google Play, like Android to favor its search, as well as other services, which we're seeing a lot about AI, and that's potentially getting swept up in this. Essentially, the eyeballs are on Google to say like how much of your business is built around that kind of machinery to drive everything to your search product. Remedies could include contract requirements, prohibitions, non-discrimination product requirements, data and interoperability requirements, structural requirements. This is all according to the report that the judge put out. Of course, Google plans to appeal on this. No question Google is going to appeal. And in that case, a lot of this stuff isn't going to just happen, within the next couple of months. It's going to be years to know what that leads to. But Google's Vice President of Regulatory Affairs, Lee Ann Mulholland, says splitting off Chrome or Android would break them and many other things. So, which, it most certainly would be a really, I mean, to say it would be a really big deal for Google almost feels like an understatement. It would be possibly one of the biggest, if not the biggest deals Google's had to deal with in its existence.
Yeah, we'll see how the nut that is Google actually gets cracked open. I mean, obviously with all these different, and there's such direct, responses to all of the practices that I guess we've talked about, either negatively, well, probably primarily negatively or positively over the years. Very direct responses to basically every single thing that Google has done to ensure dominance in the search sphere. So, I mean, guess we'll see. Yeah, it's interesting. I guess it depends on how the nut cracks open, whether Android and or Chrome remains part of Google and what that means for the rest of us, devs, users.
Yeah.
And
as a developer, are you worried about that? Like, does that concern you to know that there's a possibility that Google wouldn't own Android as it has so far?
I would more be concerned about the people that work on Android now get to keep working on it. I think there's part of me, and this kind of goes back to like our interview with Jesse Wilson, that still loves and yearns for the days of Google being bootstrappy and more open and an underdog. And I know, like, I think a lot of us feel that way still, but you know, Google as a business doesn't operate like that, and especially all the vertical integration the last year doesn't feel like that increasingly. So I think there's part of me, and my husband has echoed this too when we talk about it. And you know, this is what we talk about at night, y'all. We're just very boring people, but we kind of yearn for those days, and I think there's a happy future where Android is independent and more like the way we would like it to be, and that's open and scrappy. But I don't know if that's a pipe dream or not. It really depends. And yeah, like if we mentioned so many times before, and as we keep saying, like it's all those proprietary services and things that make Android what it is now. Sorting through that's going to be a mess. If it happens. If it happens,
yeah.
It really depends on how, if they do split it up. Like, if they were forced to spin off Android into a completely independent company without Google Play or Google Play services or Google Play Store offered, on a technical level, like nothing would have to change because Google Play could still offer those as like a bundle. They could still offer GMS as a bundle as they do right now. They would probably have to sell it instead of, you know, offering it in terms of like revenue sharing agreements, things like that, because they want still Android users to have access to the Play Store. But then the question becomes, like, how would Android as an independent company fund future development? Like right now, it's entirely funded by the fact that Google makes a boatload of money off the Play Store, right? So that's what funds Android development right now. But as an independent company, what would Android be selling? They're not going to sell access to the source code because it's open, right? Like no one would. Like I don't see where they would be making money. Would it become like an open foundation, like a Linux foundation, entirely dependent on volunteers and, you know, donations by companies? Would that work out? I don't really know.
That's a really great question, and I don't know. I mean, I've been in technologies where they were sent to open source foundations to die. And that's the most negative, you know, kind of experience in my life. But Android's a little bit different. Android is the #1 operating system in the world. So I feel like there's a chance there that, I don't know. I mean, you're absolutely right. That's 100%. Like, I think that's the question right now. So in the worst case, I don't know. In the best case, maybe things will get better. I mean, but that's the wide range of possibilities. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have to be there's part of me that's a little bit excited by it, but you know,
just to kind of shake things up
because yeah, I mean, we've talked about how these policies can be bad, and I mean, as much as I love Android and would hate to see the ecosystem disrupted, all these horror stories we talked about over the years of like people getting kind of burned by the Google Play Store and Google policies and having no retribution or no recourse because it's a massive monolith now, and you start to kind of get lost. So I don't know, like maybe if anything, this scares Google into, I don't know, changing things for the better at the very least good, in the very least good option.
Yeah,
right.
It doesn't have to automatically mean bad outcomes. Maybe it ends up being a good outcome for users, for developers. You know, maybe not for Google, because Google would have preferred to hold on to everything, but that's kind of the point, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
But the concern is anything that makes Android as a platform overall weaker, because we have a duopoly of Android and iOS, would just make iOS stronger. And we already see how dominant iPhone and iOS is a platform in the US.
In the US, yeah.
In the US, yeah.
Yeah. Well, experts weighing in on this expect that separation might not be the solution or the end result here, but rather an elimination of those exclusive agreements, you know, with companies like Apple. But who the heck knows? This thing's got years ahead of it.
It's just beginning. It's not gonna resolve anytime soon. So we're just gonna navel gaze and hope that things work out the best for all of us faithful. So
but in quick, somewhat related news, not to this specific antitrust ruling, but you know, definitely related to antitrust rulings in previous months, Microsoft plans to update its Xbox mobile app for Android so that it will enable U.S. users to purchase and then play games on mobile. So you can imagine using the app to buy a new Xbox game and then via Xbox Cloud Gaming stream that game directly to mobile. The Verge does point out, though, that Steam and PlayStation Store have allowed for game purchases through their apps in the past. leaving Microsoft as the exception. So, but Microsoft is definitely using this moment to be like, and see, now we can do this app store. So, no real word on why the antitrust ruling suddenly paves the way for this, according to Microsoft, but it's happening.
Well, Microsoft didn't. I don't think they explicitly clarified what exactly they're selling. But if they're selling access to cloud games that you can stream directly to that Android phone, then I think it makes sense why they had to wait. Because when you buy games through the Steam app on your Android phone, you're not playing those games on Android. You're buying them so you can play them on your PC. So
I see.
That wouldn't apply for Google's, I think, in-app purchase requirements. But because Microsoft potentially wants to allow you to buy and play games directly on your Android phone, they would be subject to Google Play's, app billing requirement. But that's all before this Epic ruling that kind of forces Google to allow alternative app payment methods.
Interesting stuff. Changes. Whether you like it or not, change happens. It's just the way of the world. All right, you got more stuff to talk about, Michelle. What other articles did you write?
So some features that I think could be coming in Android 16 next year, or maybe in one of the Android 15 QPR releases. One of the most exciting ones is the ability to put any app in a floating bubble. So right now, the Bubbles API, or like the chat head floating bubbles, is something that only a handful of messaging apps support. And it looks like Google is working on a way to allow you to basically put any app that you want into a bubble. And the implications of this could be big, because right now, this would allow basically for phones to have a way to basically have a pop-up window on top of any screen, kind of like Samsung phones and many other devices already do. But Google would be bringing this feature to Android phones, Pixel phones specifically. But more importantly, on tablets, if you scroll down, Jason, Google has been working on, for the past year, a new bubble bar feature that basically you have this bar on the bottom right of your screen that houses all of your floating chat bubbles. And when you combine the ability to turn any app into a bubble with this bubble bar, you could basically have this bar where you can switch between multiple apps and basically just like multitask at will with Chrome, with the calculator, with Keep Notes. And you wouldn't have to switch between apps or open the recent app store to switch between them. You could just have them in this bar and switch between them at any time on any screen.
I like that. That's productivity AF or productive AF.
Yeah.
Productivity AF. I don't know. Either way.
It's fun to say too. Bubble bar.
Bubble bar. Bubble bar.
Put it in the bubble bar.
That was awesome. Put it in the bubble bar.
That's cool. And who was it in chat? Oh, Cousin of Jaw says, remember the Link Bubble Browser app? Oh, that's a callback. That was an era. Link Bubble, it was an era. And here we are, full circle, coming back around to bubble apps. It's just the way things work, I guess.
Another Android 16 related feature is potentially a new priority modes setting. So those of you, I've been told that iOS has this feature called focus modes, and that this seems pretty similar to it, so I'm going to go with that. This feature Google's working on, they're basically revamping the Do Not Disturb mode settings to basically allow you to create any Do Not Disturb mode, a custom mode that you want. You can create one, for example, for, gardening or meditating. And you have an option to give it a personal name. You can choose between 40 different icons. You can also enable or disable these modes through a new quick settings tile. And basically, it looks like just a much more supercharged version of the Do Not Disturb mode setting, which is basically right now limited to just triggering based on schedules or based on your calendar events. Versus priorities mode, you can basically set up as many different priority modes as you want for your own custom needs.
Like that. And so what? These would just be tiles that would be ever present in your quick settings panel and ready to just tap it. There would
be a new tile called priority modes. You tap that and it would open up into this dialog box where you can choose which priority modes you want to be enabled.
Oh, I see. Interesting. I like that. That is very neat. God, how do you do this, dude? How do you like just get in there and just like, oh, I found this whole expanded feature set of I'm in awe of what you do. You are so good at what you do. That's cool. Looking forward to that. In the next version of Android, which comes a couple of months earlier than we have normally been getting updates, according to what we've talked about in recent episodes. Cool. All right. I think that's Android 15 and 16 in a nutshell.
Well, no, there's still one more thing.
Are you
For
serious?
your next tab, Jason.
What are we missing?
Y-
One more shawl.
There's the big bot, the big plushie as the featured image.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I've been alerted. There is the plushie. There's another Michelle story. Okay, tell us about it.
So Google is working on letting you run Linux apps on Android, kind of like how you can do that right now on Chrome OS. So as a developer, if you want to run some desktop class Linux applications, you can enable this container that allows you to run Linux on your Chromebook. Google is looking to do something kind of similar on Android phones. They're working on a terminal app that you'll potentially be able to enable through developer settings. And once you enable this, it'll download, configure, and run Debian, which is a Linux distribution, in a virtual machine. It'll virtualize and run Debian on your Android device. And I have a little demo here. Right now, Google hasn't completely implemented this. Like, they haven't made the terminal app into an all-in-one platform, but they are working on that. Once this does roll out, you'll be able to run proper Linux apps, potentially, on your Android phone, which opens up a lot of possibilities as turning your Android phone into an actual productivity machine, especially when you combine it with the work that Google's been doing on desktop mode and display output on their Pixel phones. So a portable PC in your pocket. Dream is real.
Jeez.
Potentially.
I
don't know if Google's actually going to enable this Linux terminal on phones, or if they're just working on this for the eventual feature when Chromebooks migrate to an Android base, which seems to be the direction that Google is going.
Amazing.
Interesting. Computer in your pocket. Is that a computer in your pocket?
And as I asked Jedek V in the YouTube chat brought up, can we install Android Studio on Android to make Android apps? Potentially, yeah. That's what I think this would open up the possibility to install and run Android Studio on your Android phone.
I love it.
Because that's how you run Android Studio on Chromebooks. You have to install that Linux container first to run the Linux version of Android Studio on your Chromebook.
Dang.
My brain's breaking a little bit. It's like the inception of Android development. Like I could build apps for my fold on my fold. From my fold.
Would you? Okay, I guess my question is: would you enjoy building apps on your phone?
To be fair, no. Maybe my fold, but I probably wouldn't enjoy it. To be honest with you, but I think that.
Well, hook it up to an external monitor, a portable monitor, or like a TV or something. You're on the go. You got a little foldable
It's all
Bluetooth
making
keyboard.
sense now.
So just to give context, though, a lot of just real quick, like a lot of the problems. One of the main gripes that Android developers always have is build speed. The time it takes to actually go from code to an APK that you can install. It's traditionally very long, and usually the solution in the past 3 or 4 or 5 years has been to buy faster MacBooks or whatever computer you like, but generally MacBooks, usually with an M something. So I would do it for funsies, but I probably would not enjoy it. No, and I probably would kind of slink back to my MacBook very quickly.
You're totally right there.
But
hey,
sometimes you're away from your computer and you're like trapped on a train and you got 2 hours to kill and you're like, I just need to punch out some code.
I like that a lot, especially if, say, like my laptop's up in the overhead bin and I just really I have an idea. Actually, I have ideas for apps in the shower, so maybe I should just like bring my phone in the shower with me and then no, never mind.
That's a whole different feature set.
That's a whole different feature set.
It's Android 17.
Well, thank you so much. We take our time right now to thank our patrons, because guess what? It's a time for our patron pick of the week. So every Monday we post 3 stories, and folks that support us over at patreon.com/AndroidFaithful or directly at AndroidFaithful.com get to vote on those 3 stories. And by, on Tuesdays by 5 p.m. Eastern and 2 p.m. Pacific, we pick which one they don't pick one. We select the one that received the most votes. And this week, and not only that, actually, this week, we don't just have a patron pick. We have a listener/viewer submitted hero bug droid image. And this week's comes from, and I'm so sorry, Devor, sorry, I was practicing this Devor before the show, and now it's just kind of crumbling apart.
Dobrovolzhny.
Dobrovolny. I'm so sorry, Devor. But anyway, what really matters is the amazing surfer android dude that Devor generated. Summer is over, but not for the dude droid, the android. He's got amazing hair, kind of swept to the side. He's got amazing chest hair and abs.
Got a 6-pack. Look at that.
This is a droid that lifts, brah, and surfs.
Buff droid.
It's a buff droid. Not only that, she's also showing the Chrome love because he has like this huge like medallion necklace that is the Chrome logo. Because I mean, obviously, you know, we've been talking about the close association of Android and Chrome, and yeah, what droid would be complete or a complete at heart without a phone? So my dude, the surf droid is always ready.
It's looking like a little dated phone though. I'm thinking this is probably like circa 2014, 2015. You know, maybe an early Galaxy S, or maybe even the Nexus 6, that really wide. Was that the wide one? No, not the 6.
Is it? Yeah, but definitely
the
that
Nexus 6 was wide.
Yeah,
that
was the
top
wide
bezel
one.
is very distinctive in it.
Yeah,
so.
it kind of has an HTC quality to it, an old school HTC quality.
I do think there are some subtle teeth as well under the bug droid head, so we can debate on whether we like.
Oh no,
our...
I cannot see that now.
No, yeah, sorry. Now, I mean. I mean, you know, he's a happy dude. Like, he's surfing.
I love this image. It could be my favorite one so far. It's pretty awesome.
You know, he probably
There's
lives
so
on
much
the
to
beach,
it.
Jason. He probably is like that's probably an old school Android. And he's just living on the beach, living his best life. But anyway,
Yes.
please continue submitting these images because they are amazing. This one's fabulous and a good way to kind of leave off summer, as hopefully we're all getting into colder weather. It is here in Maryland where I am. Hopefully other places where y'all are. But anyway, this week we had 3 stories. And the least winningest one was, unfortunately, Google will finally let you move your Chrome address bar to the bottom on Android, which sounds lovely, but we ain't going to talk about that.
Nope.
Second place at 34% was Huawei to roll out homegrown mobile operating system in challenge to Apple's iOS and Android. Now that is definitely a spicy story, but we don't care.
Only 34% of us care about that.
Duopoly into a triopoly, true. Anyway, don't care. Doesn't matter.
Never gonna happen.
What people do care about, and I'm actually really excited this one got picked, is that Google Photos could soon tell you if an image is AI generated. This just feels as germane could be. So this comes from our friends at Android Authority, who did one of their APK teardowns where they look inside the APK and try to find, clues of things to come. And they did this with Google Photos version 7.3. So they didn't find, this is not an actual feature that is available yet, but they found hints of things. So they found a layout, which is like part of a UI. And that UI consists of 3 things. And these 3 things seems to hint to credit and source of images. So there's 3 fields that one can see, AI info, credit, and digital source type. So what Android Authority is thinking is that this is kind of hearkening to the IPTC credit standard. So IPTC stands for the International Press Telecommunications Council. So this is a London-based organization, a consortium of different news agencies and providers that acts as a kind of standards body for news media, kind of like all the other standards and protocol bodies that we've talked of, but specifically for telecommunications and news in specific. So one of their standards is a photo metadata standard. So whenever you see a photo on a news article online, you'll generally see some credit as appropriate to kind of tell you the source and person that took the photo or has rights to it or whatever. So it seems that these 3 fields could point to, for number 1, the credit could probably again reference the image's credit text. So normally that's like a photographer name, an agency name. I think even like I suppose like places like stock photo places also probably sometimes get credit, depending on just who owns the rights to it. So that's probably what that would be. Now Android Authority is speculating that what this could be in terms of AI generated images would be, something that you usually see often with some AI generated images where, made with so-and-so AI, like made with Google AI or something like that. So that could be what this credit is used for. And then just kind of be part of the EXIF data. Another field is the digital source type. So this actually directly comes from the IPTC photo metadata. It's currently used for just to define what kind of media it is. So it could be, and actually not just what media it is, but how it was taken. So a lot of times when you look at certain data, you can say, oh, this was captured with a digital camera, or oh, this was video, or this was audio, or hey, this was, I don't know, taken with like a, there's metadata that lets you know it's taken with a real physical camera. I'm making the motions now because I can't help but do that. So there's some thought that this might actually, also be a way to kind of attribute generated AI images to, their proper source, which would be, again, generated from, whatever engine or LLM rather, or generative AI rather, that did it. So again, this is not a feature that's available in Photos now, but it's hinting to things that Google is doing to, again, try to connect those pieces, because we've talked about this a lot and we've seen it in the media, right, of AI images coming from who knows where. And, we've talked, of course, about whether, companies like Google and OpenAI need to put in watermarks or just have some way of tracing where these images come from. So it looks like something is on the way, at least as far as the Android Authority folks who are taking peekies inside the APKs are thinking. So,
yeah, Google's doing this in its other properties as well, and as are the other major companies, Adobe, Microsoft, Amazon. They're all
100%.
kind of going in this direction and using systems similar to what we're talking about here with the IPTC. There's another one called the C2PA, the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity. And but I mean, it's all just about getting a standard around making sure that if an image is generated by AI and you're following these kind of rules, then you're identifying it as such. Obviously, not everything is going to get identified like this.
Yeah, that's the problem with these kind of things.
That's the motion.
Speaking of the
like
C2PA, I actually saw just before we went live, actually, that YouTube started labeling its first videos with a captured with a camera label that basically identified that this video was captured on a legit device instead of potentially manipulated by AI. And it was just an article that was published on The Verge, showing a video, like the first video potentially uploaded with that new caption in place. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not this is something that can be widespread applied and supported on all camera apps and all devices, and which platforms actually support these labels. It's going to be a slow process.
Yeah, and it's always going to be about companies and other players in the game actually kind of being good citizens and kind of following these things. But I mean, I guess that kind of it could be like a positive hope thing, where that at least if something is coming from the big companies and they adhere to these standards, that there is some level of trust that we're starting to build, or understanding about where images come from. But all that aside, we want to take the time to thank our patrons, who, without whom we could not do this show. And specifically this week, we want to thank Wincenti W, Macaroon, Doug Fry, Bill Rudder, and Corey Klimowski. I'm sorry, I'm just bad at names this week, y'all. Write an email and school me on how you say your names properly if I've messed it up. But again, we want to thank y'all so much for supporting us. And again, if you are interested in what we're doing, you like it, patreon.com/AndroidFaithful, or just go right directly to AndroidFaithful.com. Read you some awesome articles by the crew. And thank you all so much.
Thank you, patrons. Thank you for your support. And yes, go to AndroidFaithful.com and read all of the stuff that we have talked about that pretty much primarily Michal has written, especially today. Lots of great stuff there. We've scratched the surface, as it were. Let's take a quick break, and then we're going to get into some hardware. We've got some more interviews from Droidcon coming up, some news in the apps front, and a little bit of feedback. We've still got a lot of show coming up in store for you, but at this moment, want to take a moment and thank our sponsor for this episode and for all of our great conversations that we had a few weeks back at Droidcon NYC. Verimatrix cybersecurity. The connected world is filled with applications that help us in our daily lives, and when you think about how those apps are protected, you got to think Verimatrix. Verimatrix protects the applications that drive the digital economy. Its XTD solution uses layered security techniques and AI and machine learning to shield apps, preventing cyber attacks. Verimatrix cybersecurity is compatible with multiple platforms and development frameworks. XTD provides real-time threat detection and response capabilities, monitoring threats from unmanaged consumer devices beyond typical IT control. If you're a developer, or maybe you're a product manager or any other role working in the digital space, help protect your work and your users by checking out Verimatrix Cybersecurity. You really want to check this out for yourself. You can find out more by going to verimatrixcybersecurity.com. And we thank Verimatrix for supporting Android Faithful and, of course, Droidcon NYC. Verimatrix, protecting the applications that drive the digital economy. It's verimatrixcybersecurity.com. That's where you need to go to check it out for yourself. Thank you, Verimatrix. You guys are awesome. So great having you on board. All right. And with that, we enter the hardware block, of which I'm looking and it's almost half my screen. So we've got a lot. So let's start with you and what you got.
All right, what do I got is that we've been talking a lot about MediaTek Dimensities lately, and guess what? They have formally announced their newest flagship SoC, the Dimensity 9400. And I mean, unsurprisingly, of a new SoC that is announced, they're claiming performance, y'all. This is a 3 nanometer process SoC, and they claim that it is 40% more power efficient than the 9300. They've got details. If you are a big processor nerd and a big nerd about architecture, you can look into detail, but they talk about a quote ultimate all big core design, and they've got all kinds of cores here. I won't take the time to list them, but they do claim a 35% faster single core performance and a 28% faster multi-core performance with this current setup. And of course, what SoC would be complete in 2024 without AI and NPUs, neural processing units? AI. And they're coming in the Dimensity 9400 with their 8th generation neural processing unit, which supports with support for several lightweight AI models on device, because of, again, that's kind of like the thing nowadays is what can you do on device, keeping all of your, well, not all of it, but keeping as much on device possible for latency and privacy purposes, maybe, hopefully. But yeah, they're claiming with the 9400 that their AI, improvements will create 80% faster LLM prompt performance that supports AI video generation, and also a developer framework for creating agentic. It must be agentic applications. Agentic, yeah. So these are agent-based AIs where, I guess the quick way is saying, think of Rabbit, but that's something that actually works. Something that actually you send off to do things for you, more or less, an agent. Quick personal fact, I studied autonomous agents in college. Anyway, for the 9400 though, if the trifold, the Mate X, what was it? The Mate XT?
Mate XT.
Mate XT, yeah. If the Mate XT fascinates you, well, the Dimensity 9400 is saying, okay, well, if you like trifolds, the 9400 will also include scaling. It will also support scaling content for devices like the trifold, and it will be available in the market. It will be in the market rather in Q4 of this year, with Vivo and Oppo saying that they're going to be. Well, actually, rather look to Vivo and Oppo for phones that will be supporting this 9400. Also, side note, by the way. I know we kind of used to make jokes in the past about Dimensity 9400. Oh, ha ha ha, that SoC. We haven't heard about them for a while, but a lot, just like a lot of OEMs, they are focusing on AI, and Google, of course, is definitely partnering with MediaTek, and MediaTek also announced with this platform and with other platforms that they are now optimizing their SoCs and their platforms to support Gemini Nano, including all of its new multimodal capabilities. And this does include the 9400 as well as other generative AI-enabled chipsets. So there you go, 9400, Dimensity, AI stuff, faster performance, and we'll see some phones coming out with the 9400 soon. Very soon.
Very soon.
Soon.
We'll see them very soon. Cool stuff. All right. I realize in myself that I have so much legacy MediaTek belief that I need to undo, and I know that they've come a long way in recent years with their flagship.
Like the phone that I currently use, which I didn't bring with me right now, it's the Xiaomi 14T Pro. It has the Dimensity 9300 Plus, which was their latest chipset before this 9400 was announced. And yeah, it is a very good performing chipset. Like, it does everything that I need. Like, the only thing when you hear people talk about, oh, MediaTek is slow or they're bad, it generally comes from a small subset of power users who want to emulate retro consoles or like emulate Windows. Like, for the vast majority, 99% of users, you're not going to have any issues with the highest end MediaTek chipset. Like, it's a small number of users who might have issues just because of the amount of Vulkan extensions or the drivers that they put out. But yeah, for most users, it's a very well-performing chipset.
Yeah, cool. Excellent progress then. I'll look forward to checking out a device running one of those chips, hopefully in the near future. One device that I reviewed recently that does not run a Dimensity chipset, it runs an Amlogic chipset from 2019. It's okay. Don't let that scare you. Is the On 4K Pro, and I'm not going to go through a whole list about this. I got motivated one day, and I was like, I'm just going to go down to Walmart and buy one. And so I drove down to Walmart and I bought the On 4K Pro, which is Walmart, or sorry, if Ron was here, he'd be yelling at this point. The On 4K Pro. On is Walmart's kind of house brand of all types of things, not just technology and products. But so they have their streamers. It's a Google TV streamer. It's running Android TV 12, not 14. But here's what I found so interesting is, even though it's running 12 and not 14, and prior to this, what motivated this was that like a couple of weeks prior, I had reviewed the Google TV streamer. Even though they're running two different versions, you would not know the difference looking at the UI. Like it was effectively the same. All the way down to, and this is, one of the pieces of news that we have that's somewhat related to this, all the way down to the fact that the AI screensaver functionality is in there. You get the Gemini summaries, which it's not really, I feel like it's kind of faking it to say it's got Gemini, in relation to that, because it's like Gemini generated these things in advance and it's just looped into the UI. It's not like you're interacting with Gemini necessarily, but it's got that in here. So the only thing that it doesn't have right now, and I'm wondering if it's going to come, because another piece of news is that the home panel is coming to the Chromecast with Google TV. It doesn't have the home panel. That was like the only real thing that I was like, okay, well, it doesn't have that. But, it has the multifunction button on the remote that you can program and assign it to an app. It's really interesting. And for half the price of the Google TV streamer, it's $50. Pretty darn capable, I think. Downsides, of course, like I said, it's an Amlogic S905X4 processor that was launched back in 2019. And there are times where the UI would, kind of get a little hiccupy and a little kind of jumpy, but surprisingly not as much as I expected. Maybe over time, maybe if I was running this for 6 months, I'd start to kind of recognize things like that a little more. When you first buy a device, it's like, oh, it worked perfectly. And then you have it 4 months later and you're like, okay, now I see the difference. Possibly then, because it also only has 3 gigs of RAM. Not 4, which is what the Google TV streamer has. 128 gigs of storage, also has the USB 3 port, so you can easily throw an external hard drive into here. Has a 100 megabit Ethernet port, which is not a gigabit port, so that's going to bum some real home theater nuts out, because streaming high bandwidth local media to this, you're going to have a hard time with 100 megabits versus a gigabit. But it does support Wi-Fi 6. It's yeah, and like I said, it's well, actually I didn't say this, but it has the remote finder. That's what that button on the front is. Tap that and the remote beeps. It's the same beep. It's the same exact sound in this remote that the Google TV streamer barks at you when you're finding it. Like the same tune, same tempo, everything. So they're sharing some technology there for sure. As you can see, the remote is a little cluttered, but we do have an email, and I didn't pull in the graphics, so I'm just going to read it. If Ron was here, he would have ensured that I do this right, but I apparently didn't. And it's from George from NYC, who saw the Google TV streamer review that I did on the Tech Exploder YouTube channel. He saw that review, but he also saw the on 4K Pro review that I did. And he said, from his perspective, he said, storage, it has that USB port for additional storage. Yeah, I know it's not the same as onboard storage, but $99 is also not the same as $19. Google Home integration, I believe I read the feature will be getting pushed, which you're right, it will be. The remote finder, just look under your cushions, is probably there. But he also said that there is an app that you can install on this device called Button Mapper. And I did know about this app, but I didn't put it into my review because I wanted the review to be just about the device and not about anything extra. And the app lets you reprogram the buttons on the remote. So you can essentially change the purpose of the YouTube, Netflix, Disney Plus, and Paramount Plus buttons down at the bottom, or the free TV button for that matter, to do all sorts of other things. And so that's something to consider. So yeah, $50 for I think a pretty reasonable, for what you get. $50 is pretty good for this device. Especially, I think what was really fascinating to me was how much it stacked up against the Google TV streamer. Yet it costs $50 less. It has some shortcomings. It's not total apples to apples, but it's pretty close. It's like big apples to little apples, or medium apples. So, anyways. That is the On 4K Pro. You can go to my YouTube channel at Tech Exploder, and you can find the full review there. So there we go. Oh, and you can also go to AndroidFaithful.com, where I wrote up, for those of you who don't like watching things, I wrote up an article about it. Yeah, I channeled my inner Mishal and wrote an article for the site. I did my best to emulate you, Mishal. Okay.
Great job.
Thank you. That's what I was searching for. Thank you for giving me what I wanted. All right. Speaking of streamers, though, you're going to talk about the Mac Daddy. Maybe that's the term that I shouldn't use. I don't know. Is that a bad term to use? Back in the day, it was a term. Now I'm just showing that I'm old. The quintessential streamer in the Android world. You're going to talk about it. Tell us about it.
I would say it used to be the quintessential streamer.
Yeah.
And it is still a really good device, but if I were to buy a Google TV streaming device right now, it would probably be the On 4K. That's what I would buy. Just $50. It's definitely probably one of the best value for money TV streaming devices you can get.
Value for money.
Especially if you want Android TV / Google TV software.
Yeah, I hear you on the value for money. But my question in relation to the NVIDIA Shield TV, which is actually what we're going to talk about, is I feel like the Shield TV is like that next level for people that want to do a lot with their Google TV. And I don't think the On 4K Pro would be that device necessarily. They do a lot of it, but it wouldn't do all of it, So they would be different. But yeah, I agree. Total value for money.
The Shield TV is basically reaching end of life. It is getting an update. This update has not reached the stable channel yet, but is getting an update that's available right now to users who manually sign up to this preview program. And this update fixes quite a number of bugs. In the patch notes, it fixes the ability to clear the HDMI 1.4 flag, resolving USB HDD flash drive showing corruption issues, issues with mounting storage, crashes in DRM apps, fixing issues with the match frame rate option, and a no audio problem experience on Shield TV when you have headsets connected to controller, and also an issue with the Shield drive filling up. And now this is something I actually personally experienced on my Shield, and it was infuriating. My Shield storage would just say it was completely full, even though it was nowhere near actually full. It turned out there was some system logging file just constantly spitting out new logs, and there was nowhere to clear it. So I just had to actually just factory reset my Shield TV. And this update hopefully fixes that problem so no one else has to go through that and set up your Shield TV again. Well, this update isn't available yet if you have a Shield TV. As I mentioned, you still have to manually sign up for this internal beta program to get access to it. But hopefully it'll be rolling out soon and in a certified state, because this build right now isn't Google Play certified. So if you don't already have apps like Disney Plus installed, then you won't be able to install it through the Google Play Store. Yeah, it is nice to see NVIDIA still pushing out updates. Although
Yeah.
it remains to be seen whether or not they'll continue to do so. I have a feeling that the Shield is probably reaching end of life very soon, if not with this update.
And you know what? As much as I want to never say, if you stop updating this device, it's okay. That just isn't a sentence that I want to say. A 10-year-old device, I think it's okay.
Yeah. 10-year-old device. Well, I mean, mine. I have the 2019 model, so I want that to get a few more updates. But the 2015,
for sure,
definitely, you've definitely earned you've gotten your money's worth. I
think you're doing okay, NVIDIA. You know, you've done well. I'm sure people who are still running these devices are yelling at me right now, no, keep it going. And great, keep it going if you want to. But you know what? I don't think anyone would fault you if you decided you were done, because 10 years is just incredible. That's really.
Do refrigerators even last 10 years?
Do
microwaves last 10 years?
Modern refrigerators. No. I mean, back in the day, your mom's old refrigerator that definitely lasted more than 10 years.
That one was a tank.
Times have changed. Yes, I don't. Let's just be clear. I do not envision the On 4K Pro lasting 10 years.
Oh right,
okay,
definitely.
So just putting that out there.
At least not as an active device. Maybe as a memento on your shelf next to your Nexus or the Nexus Q or something, like in the annals of Android history.
Yeah, but it's the fabric thing. Have you ever seen one of these covered in dust? It's nice. It's nice when it's new. Oh. I've seen one of these obliterated by dust because somebody didn't keep it clean or had it running in a dusty environment or whatever, and it's fugly when it's dusty. So just keep that in mind. You got to keep it clean, otherwise it looks horrible over time. Anyways.
As someone who's a neglectful duster, that would not be me. But we got old stuff, but we got some new stuff too. I mean, in fact, we got some new stuff from Vivo. And I love this next story actually, because I know a lot of us, especially, a lot of us folks though that prefer smaller phones kind of lament the fact that usually flagship phones do not come in small size packages. Well, guess what? Vivo is saying, no, you all, you can have a mini flagship, because Vivo have announced that X200 Pro and X200 Pro Mini. Now these actually will have the Dimensity 9400, which I talked about just a little bit ago. But it's really cool looking at the specs of both the Vivo X200 Pro and the X200 Pro Mini. Y'all, there is not a lot of difference, and I say that with all the enthusiasm. These two devices in terms of specs are so similar. The only places that are different are the display. So the Vivo X200 Pro, which is let's just say the full flagship, the full size flagship, the sedan, I don't know. the full size flagship has a 6.78 inch screen. The Mini has a 6.31 inch screen, which in the terms of the modern flagship just seems nice and tiny. They come in a wide array of colors. Apparently the Sapphire one, which only the regular size Pro comes in, is very sparkly. But yeah, the only other difference between these two phones is the battery capacity, which makes sense, right? Because physically smaller phone must have a smaller battery generally, but these are still pretty big batteries. The X200 Pro, the full-sized one, having 6,000 milliamp capacity, while the Mini still has 5,700 milliamp capacity. So that's a lot of battery for your buck.
Yeah.
But the rest of the specs are the same. They both have a 32 megapixel front camera, and they both have the same Zeiss branded triple camera rear triple camera with a 50 megapixel across the board for your primary, your ultra wide, and your telephoto. Both have 16 gigabytes of RAM. Hallelujah for the 16 gigabytes of RAM in a modern flagship, and 1 terabyte of storage, y'all. They're both going to be running Android 14. Hallelujah. And I mean, that's pretty much it. These are going to be both lovely phones to use. They did make note that the Vivo's V3 Plus imaging chip that was seen on the previous X100, enables such wonderful things if you are an aspiring filmmaker from your phone, like the 4K HDR cinematic portrait video and shooting in 10-bit log at up to 60 frames per second. And if you are a slow-mo person, you can actually 4K does go up to 120 frames per second. So yeah, nice. I'm just really excited for the small flagships. You know, I feel like that's just a compromise we've had to make for the past few years. Like the flagship features come in a flagship sized phone, but if you are in a country that can get a Vivo and you want a small flagship, this might be your phone. The Pro, the regular size one, the full size sedan, is now available for pre-order and ships on October 19th. The Pro Mini is coming out a little bit later. Pre-orders are open now, but it will ship October 25th, not too much later. The pricing, so the base model, actually there's more than 1 terabyte. Actually, there's multiple configurations. It goes from like 12 gigabytes of storage up to 16. Sorry, I said that backwards. 12 gigabytes of RAM up to 16, 12 still not bad. And 256 gigabytes of storage up to 1 terabyte of storage. Now, depending on, you know, of course, what your memory configuration is, the price will vary, but the regular size Pro starts at 748 USD, goes up, and the Pro Mini starts at 663 USD, and goes up. So yeah, very compelling. And again, rocking the Dimensity 9400.
There you go.
I think Win, did you say it runs Android 14? Because I think it runs Android 15.
I said 15. Maybe I said 14 by accident, but I meant 15.
It should be 15 for sure.
Okay, it is. Yeah, it's 15 in my notes. If I said 14, apologize. Maybe I'm just reading it wrong. But yeah, Android 15.
I do think the way they named it is actually kind of interesting. Where they say like Vivo X200 Pro and Vivo X200 Pro Mini. It's kind of like the inverse of what Google did with the Google Pixel 9 Pro and the Pixel 9 Pro XL.
Yeah.
Whereas like, you know, if they decided to name it like Google did, they would call the Mini just the Pro, and then the Pro XL. As we see here, Jason's kind of holding up both phones.
But iPhone does that too, right? Isn't there an iPhone Mini? So it's kind of maybe echoing that kind of.
Well, the Mini is not a Pro. You have the iPhone 15 Mini, but that's not a Pro phone. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wonder if it's just like trying to, I don't know, pick at that.
Yeah, iPhone has the Pro and the Pro Max.
So you're right then. So most Pro phones will have the regular Pro and the supersized. I like that.
The Pro and the Pro Pro.
The
Pro and the Pro-ist Pro.
That would be great. Like the Pro-er. I would buy a Pixel 9 Pro-er.
It's Pro-er than your Pro.
By the way, if you want to see like a hands-on or like some photos from this new Vivo phone, highly recommend checking out my friend's Ben Gadget Reviews channel on YouTube or on his Twitter. He does amazing coverage of a lot of China exclusive phones and like Asian market devices. So yeah, these Vivo phones, they put out some crazy impressive photos and videos, but we're never getting them in the US, so we can't really show what they look like.
Totally. Yeah. Wah wah. Will we ever get the Oppo Find X8 on this show? Because
on the show, maybe, hopefully.
Apple made having a camera key on a phone cool again, as Apple often does, that sort of thing. And now it's coming to the Oppo Find X8, a quick capture button. And actually, there's a little demo of it, and they put it under water for extra effect. And actually, this makes a lot of sense. If you ever take a phone that is IP68 certified underwater and you try and take a picture with it, and if it's a touchscreen picture that you're trying to take, the water throws off the touchscreen. Well, having a little bar that you swipe, like a little capacitive touch zone on the frame like this one has, allows you to do that. So essentially, a single tap will take a photo. A double tap will activate the camera. So I guess you do that first. Single tap, take a photo, and then sideways swipe to zoom. Tell me if that sounds familiar. Of course, Apple, this is one of the key new features of the new iPhone that just came out. And yeah, pretty neat extra feature. I can't help with the extra button for the camera thing to be that Android guy going, yeah, we had it first. But, maybe we didn't have the swipey thing that Apple did. And now Android is doing that too. Probably going to see more of this in different phones. This is just the way of the tech world as relates to smartphones.
Trends
as they are. Yep. And then real quick, before we get to the next part of this show, I do want to call out a quick thanks to the Ozone Nightmare who gave us a super thanks. Happy Tuesday, sir. Says, I know what you mean when I think talking about, I think this has to do with the On 4K Pro conversation. Says,
no, sorry, I was talking very. We were talking about Scrappy. Oh no, we were talking about Scrappy, like back to the DOJ conversation.
Oh wow, this is way back.
Way back.
Oh, okay.
Scrappy and Android, and I was like hoping that it could still be Scrappy development wise. So sorry, I was typing in chat a lot.
Oh, I see. So this is like chat conversation. Says, while polish is important and stability is vital, having a sense of energy and experimentation matters too.
Big heart for that, my dude.
So thank you, Ozone Nightmare. You're always incredibly supportive, and we appreciate you. We appreciate all of you for being here. Okay, we're going to take a super quick break, and then when we come back, we've got some excerpts from some interviews to play from Droidcon NYC. All right, we've got a few more video excerpts to play for you. And so I think, how is this normally going? We're playing a little clip for y'all. If you are patrons at patreon.com/AndroidFaithful, then you get the full interview later this week. And then I think the full interviews, are we releasing those outside of the Patreon eventually as well?
Yes, a week later.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So you get them in advance in full if you're a patron. It's one of the many perks that you get. And, if not, you're just going to have to wait a while for them. So we have three short clips to play you today from our little podcast room at Droidcon NYC. This first one with Sam Greenberg from Capital One and Matt McKenna at Square. And it's actually Ron and Michelle both talking with them. Primarily about accessibility, in particular crafting apps to be better, more accessible, let's say, for those with color blindness. So here's a clip of that interview.
Like after you say diagnose potential issues with color contrast in your apps that might negatively impact users with color blindness, what are some of the challenges associated with actually tweaking your app to make it more accessible? Like, are there any things that you got to look out for in particular when you're making changes, or that make it difficult to actually adjust your app?
I think the first thing would be if it's color choices that impact branding would be the most difficult, because those are pretty hard to get around. But there are strategies to help with that too. Like you can introduce some sort of pattern or some sort of other signifier like an icon if things have some sort of meaning behind the color. That's always something that you have to watch out for.
The marketing folks really won't bend to it for accessibility. It's got to be this Pantone, right?
And similarly, as somebody who is partially affected by the colors, I have a lot of conversations with designers to keep things clear for me, especially. So that's, conversations. Branding, that'll probably be really hard to change. But there are certain things you can do, like, does a button really have to be this specific color? Can we change it to something slightly more friendly? And it'll probably just look better in general, like visual clarity purposes.
For sure, yeah. Have you gotten any, I'm curious if you've gotten any direct feedback from users who appreciate the effort, or if you've done user testing or anything like that? Because I know it's one thing to be in the lab working with something, but do you often get to see actual users interact with what you've done and then make adjustments from there?
Yeah, related to what Matt was saying earlier, we spent a lot of time working on accessibility in that app, which is why it's always kind of been planted as an idea in my mind. Everywhere I've been, I kind of keep that, present, the idea that that's something that can be improved or worked on. There's definitely feedback there. There's always analytics for things. Yeah. I've personally added analytics for like accessibility stuff, just curiosity to see who uses it. And it's good to know that it is there and being used by people out there.
Yeah. Excellent. Really, really great conversation just about accessibility as a whole. And this isn't even the only one of these three clips that has to do with accessibility. We'll talk about the other clip, which is more on the security front here in a second. But we have another clip, Matt Ramotar from Uber, who spends some time with Ron talking about the feedback loop from users in the kind of the development cycle of apps. here we go with that.
When you mentioned getting complaints from users, what does that process look like? Is it, because oftentimes users can get very frustrated and might not use the technical, the specifications. Do you have to do a little detective work to figure out exactly what's going on with the complaint? Or?
Yeah, sometimes. It's, in general, we have a Slack channel now with Kotlin, and so people can put requests in there, they can complain, they can send me DMs, and so I get all of that. And if it's something that's like a one-off, I'll try my best to respond quickly. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes it goes weeks or longer where I can't look into it. If it's something that's generalizable, I'll try to either create an issue from it, start a discussion, or just put it somewhere where it's discoverable by other people. So that I think it's great that we have users who are complaining, or we have users who are engaged, because in order for open source to really work, there needs to be community. Right. So I definitely wouldn't want people to hear this and think don't bug us, bug us as much as you want.
Yeah, what I think is really, and that mentioned a community and collaboration, I kind of keep coming back to that because I feel like in the mainstream world, there's the stereotype of the coder in the basement, working all night by themselves, very kind of, isolating and lonely. But in reality, being here at Droidcon and seeing about the collaboration that happens in various Slacks and things like that, it seems like you guys are communicating both internally in the companies where you work at, but also externally with each other to help work move along. Has that been your experience?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think that technical expectations taper off very quickly. Yeah. And then to level up, it's all about being able to work with people, get alignment, get things done. It's not about writing code.
Yeah. So that was Matt Ramotar from Uber. And then finally, we have Michelle sitting down with Cohen and Brian Reed from Appdome. And actually, the full interview, both of them are part of the conversation. For this one clip, it's just Roy and Michelle talking. But of course, you can catch the full interview and you'll get more of Brian's perspective on the topic as well. But they're going to talk a little bit about the it really has to do with kind of security and how the accessibility layer of Android is commonly targeted by malicious actors and why that is.
I've been covering Android for a long time. It seems like every week I hear about some new strain of malware, with some random name someone has come up
Xenomorph,
whatever the name of the flavor of the week is. Yeah. And almost always I open the article and it says, ask the user, got access to accessibility, right? It just seems like it is the number one, at least from what I see, attack vector for malware on Android. Over the years, surely Google has seen this as a problem. What does Google try to do to clamp down on the misuse of this API?
So first, Google started this campaign that when someone is signing an accessibility service on Google, then he has this option of signing it with Google and approving that the accessibility service to not be malicious. And then some application developers can read this permission to use the accessibility service as an accessibility service that is trusted by the Google Android system. It's not supported on all of the Android APIs, which kind of sucks because it's a very, very important part of securing the users. Lots of those malwares are choosing to use the accessibility services because in order to help the users, you need to permit those services to do lots of things, such as reading your SMS, listening to your calls. It depends on the specific accessibility service. Those accessibility services are targeting tons of applications, banking applications mostly, because this is where the money is. Yeah. And they are also using command and control servers in order to get the path into the login page or to the actual to list the actual flow of how I'm going to transfer money in the application. Mm-hmm. So they can basically query all applications, those accessibility services, mm-hmm. because they wanna be able to help the users.
So after they have queried all of the applications, they would probably send a request to the command and control server, trying to get the path into the, I wouldn't say the vulnerable application, but no, you can call it a vulnerable application actually, because it's a vulnerable application, because there are ways to protect from that. Right. So after they got this path, they can now take this path and create a chain of events. Like they would open the window, then the window content would change, then they would they would perform an action using the accessibility service, then another thing pops up, then they just listen to the events and create kind of a butterfly effect, but in terms of coding, just getting the next event, the next event, the next event, until they can just steal money from the user.
And that is bad. That's not good. Anyways, we had some really wonderful conversations as we played over the last handful of weeks on the show at Droidcon NYC. Really hoping we get the opportunity to talk to all these folks in greater detail and so many more in future, shows and future cons. So, yeah, pretty cool stuff. Definitely keep your eyes peeled on the Patreon, patreon.com/AndroidFaithful, as we will have the full length versions of these interviews hitting in a matter of days, and then sometime next week you'll all get access to this. I can't remember if we're doing that through the site or how. Is it through the site? I honestly don't know where, if everybody else is getting access to this. How is that happening? Is it through the YouTube channel or?
Yeah, we're doing it through
Probably post the video on YouTube and include a link on the site.
Okay.
That probably makes sense.
All right. I just don't know what's been done in the past. I'm kind of clueless to that, apparently. But anyways, yeah, there you go.
There will be. You get to watch the whole thing.
You get to watch the whole thing eventually.
If you wait.
So anyways, thank you to Sam, Matt, Roy, Brian, and everyone that we talked to over the last, talked to at the event. And yeah, look forward to the opportunity to do it again sometime in the future. All right, we're going to take a super quick break, and then we're going to get into some app news, because this show just keeps on rolling. We got more news coming for you. Coming for you. It's like the news is going to attack you. Ha! It's going to corner you. What is the news going to do when it gets its hand on you?
It's gonna get in a circle around you and intimidate you.
Oh, God.
It's going to search. It's going to circle the search. Is what it's going to do. Tell us about it.
So yeah, Circle to Search is coming to even more devices. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that Circle to Search is becoming available on Xiaomi phones, and now it's coming to a couple of Honor phones, including the Honor Magic V3 and the Honor 200 series. So Honor announced last week that these devices will be getting Google's Circle to Search feature. I believe the Honor Magic V3 is getting it immediately, as in starting October 10th, whereas the Honor 200 series is getting it in a little bit later. So Circle to Search, if you're not familiar, debuted on the Galaxy S24 and Pixel 8 series. It's a feature that lets you basically search whatever's on screen by tapping, drawing, scribbling, or whatever. You can tap on text or images, and it'll bring up a little overlay with Google Search that allows you to just do a little search on whatever you want on screen. And the feature was basically exclusive to Google and Samsung devices for about 8 months until it arrived on Xiaomi phones with the launch of the Xiaomi 14T series and the global launch of the Xiaomi Mix Flip. And now it seems the floodgates have been opened, and it's coming to many more devices, including these Honor devices, and hopefully more devices in the near future.
Sweet. Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, Circle to Search is just going to be on all phones, and yeah, we probably won't talk about it every single time.
Yeah.
I think what that is it speaks to the utility of this particular feature. This has been a really popular feature. And we talked about it before, but there are so many features that come to Android that sound really neat, and then you use it a handful of times and you stop. And that has not been my experience with Circle to Search. I continue to use it. I love it. So
I see ads for it all the time when I'm just browsing Reddit from Samsung. Like Samsung is posting ads about this Google feature on Reddit. They're like, oh, you could be the hero of what is this bug if you just use Circle to Search. Someone's asking a question, you can look it up yourself and answer it.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, an AI-based feature that they're letting other OEMs present, and it's not a Pixel exclusive. It's a cool story, man. Cool story, brah. I mean that in a
Cool.
positive way, not in the negative way. Cool story, bro.
Not in the
No,
sarcastic
really cool.
way.
Not in a sarcastic way, thank you. I mean, but not to be outdone, YouTube has got a buttload, a metric buttload. So I think that's probably bigger than a regular
Oh.
buttload, an English buttload, an imperial buttload, whatever that is. There are so sorry, we'll get off that. There are tons of features, y'all, coming to YouTube, both for, I mean, not both, across web, mobile TVs, and, you know, YouTube music as well. All kinds of stuff. Things that I'm sure a lot of our faithful would like fine-tunable playback speed, like even smaller fine-grained increments for you to adjust that playback speed, and just kind of like generally making the UI much more like immersive and easier to use. If you are like me and adore the little mini player that exists within the app, they're going to make that little mini player even more powerful, allowing it to be resized and moved within the app, kind of like the picture-in-picture already does, like on the regular, you know, like across Android.
Yeah, I thought you could do this in YouTube, but maybe it's just picture to picture across Android.
Yeah,
is what I'm
it's
thinking
really
of.
funny because picture in picture is very powerful, and they're bringing kind of that flexibility and that resizability into the YouTube app itself. And again, because YouTube is all about engagement, the big E, y'all, Google is rolling out collaborative playlists that you can build and share with your friends, vote on to kind of like curate, you know, your playlist and, you know, create custom thumbnails for, whether that's from your camera roll on your phone or using AI, generative AI, of course. That, again, another way of kind of like getting people to use YouTube in a little bit different way and collaborate on playlists and custom thumbnails. The next one, the sleep timer was made for me. If you're like me and you kind of need a little bit of distraction, white noise, but you don't actually like white noise, and you might be like me and listen to YouTube videos at night and sometimes on autoplay, which means that you wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning to your favorite YouTube essayist talking about something. Well, for if you're like me and that's you, YouTube is coming out with the sleep timer, which allows you to basically pause playback after a certain number of hours. And yeah, they apparently tested it with premium members. Not this premium member, maybe I missed it, but yeah, I'm super excited about that. So yeah, if you're someone who likes to like passively listen to YouTube videos, you got a sleep timer. And again, with the engagement, you're going to get badges, y'all. I know we don't need no stinking badges, but you're going to get them on YouTube. And again, this is engagement. This is things like being the first to support one of your newer favorite or favoritist YouTube creators. You'll get badges for things like, again, being first on a channel, completing quizzes. What are the quizzes? I don't know. The press release says quizzes, and I've never seen a YouTube quiz. Have you guys taken a quiz on YouTube?
No.
No?
Not
Okay,
that I know
well,
of.
If YouTube asks you to take a quiz, you might get a badge for that, which you,
Okay.
the very least you can deserve for having to take a quiz while you're looking at YouTube. But, you know, a lot of it is around kind of like engagement and support of creators. And, you know, like if one of your favorite creators hearts your comment, you'll get a badge for that. So again, engagement, community, all that kind of stuff. So check out the U tab if you're just a person that really needs badges. And you're going to get a fresh experience on YouTube, on your TV. In particular, you're going to get more of that kind of immersiveness. Last month, they did launch kind of more immersive channel views, where it almost kind of reminds me of like a Netflix thing where like the video takes up the entire panel and the UI kind of is around it, rather than just kind of being like discrete boxes on the screen. If you are a shorts person, shorts on TV will get a brand new UI, allowing you kind of like, again, better interaction, engagement with the content, and just kind of, again, allowing for more theater immersive feel. And gosh, there's a lot, y'all. If you are really a YouTube head and you want to kind of get the down low on the features, if you scroll all the way down, there's actually a video by, in part by friend of the show, Renee. Renee, and I'm so sorry, I didn't look up who Renee's partner on this video is. But yeah, if you're a YouTube head, YouTube CPO.
Johanna, Chief Product Officer.
Okay, the Chief Product Officer and YouTube Liaison and friend of the show. Check it out. It's release notes. Just deep dive. There's a lot of stuff there, y'all.
This was timed with something else that was expected and did launch today, which are 3-minute shorts. So they've extended the shorts from 1 minute to 3 minutes. And so that was today
Love the
as well.
idea. 3-minute shorts.
3-minute shorts.
Just become YouTube videos.
I know it's the other platforms have the longer shorts things too, so now YouTube has it, and it's kind of confusing. Actually, like I had a piece of content all prepped for it because I was like, oh, a new feature. Yeah, I've heard that if you like jump on a new feature, sometimes you can get a little bump out of that. So I'm going to do that. So I did a review of it's hardly a review. It's like a very quick review because it was short of the Nothing Ear Open. And had it all prepped 2.5 minutes. I'm like, I'm gonna have one of the first 3-minute shorts or whatever. And it turns out that yes, it launched today, but any of the videos that would qualify as a 3-minute short are still showing up as normal until like a week or two from now when it propagates through the system. So it's like, oh, deflated. But anyways, they had all these other features too.
I think you did still make content out of that, Jason, because I do remember seeing a short on
Yes.
Techsploder about shorts.
I did.
I love
did.
it.
I was like, wait a minute, because I saw Renee's tweet about it where he spilled some information after a bunch of us were scratching our heads. I was like, oh, this is one of those opportunity moments. I got to make a video about this. And so, yeah. I did.
YouTube AF, Jason. I congratulate you.
Thank you. Thank you. And finally, there is one more piece of news that has nothing to do with my YouTube channel. Imagen or Imagen, whatever you want to call it, 3, which is Google's AI image generator, is available to all Gemini users worldwide for free. For free. Just available to you. If you ask Gemini to create an image, it's going to use Imagen 3 by default. But there is a big asterisk here. You are not going to be able to generate images of people if you're using the free version. You only get that ability when you pay the $20 a month for Gemini Advanced or the whatever they call it, the AI package. I can't remember what they call it, but so there's that. So you can create images, but not with people unless you pay.
But do you know what you can create images of?
I know what you can create images of. The Android guy.
The bug droid.
Yes. Why would you want to create images of people? You
And
can
submit
create
them
it
for
of the
Patreon
bug
picks of
droid.
the week.
Seriously.
Send us your best and your most cursed creations so we can show them as a potential future Patreon pick hero image.
Yeah, make sure and let us know in the future updates, or at least the next couple of weeks, if you're creating images for us to include in the patron pick thing. Let us know. Did you use Imagen or Imagen 3? It's just kind of nice to point that out so that people see and go, oh, that's Google's image generation.
One day you'll have IPTC credit for that, but you'll just let us know manually for now.
Yeah.
What a weird monetization point on humans. Okay, I guess it makes sense, but it's just.
I mean, I think I'm guessing it, to a certain degree, it's meant to control unsafe output. At least
Really
you have
fair.
at least you have a barrier, there. I don't know. That's just a guess.
No
That's what I
misleading,
thought of when I saw it first. I was like, oh, maybe this is
Yeah.
to protect a little bit
No, that's fair.
against bad uses of it.
Yeah.
But, and even then, can you create an image of a particular person? Could you put in a famous person and have it create an image? I'm not entirely sure that you can, regardless. But yeah, it is
If not,
interesting.
there's probably some jailbreak or something to trick it into doing so. There are.
Oh,
usually
yeah,
some-
yeah. Figure out how to prompt around it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Life
for
finds
sure.
a way. Or
Yes, exactly. All right, y'all. We've gone long once again. We're doing this lately. And you know what? It's just, let's own it. We do it because the news is there and it's got to be spoken about. And y'all aren't complaining yet. So,
and we
I
have
guess
content, capital C content.
we got
for y'all.
content to share. Michelle has an avalanche of content every single day to share. Tell us a little bit about what you unplugged.
If you want to find out what's happening in the world of Android, follow me on all the social media platforms: X, Threads, Mastodon, Telegram. You can find my link tree, which links to all of those platforms on my various platforms. And then also, if you want to support my work, you can go to patreon.com/MishalRahman and join the community. I have a Discord group that's pretty active, actually. We talk about Android updates, Pixel news, and a lot of teasers, a lot of things that I'm working on. I tease all the time on the Discord group. So yeah, if you want to support the work, and there's a lot that's coming in Android 16. Like when I just look back at all the stuff that I did for Android 15, just the sheer number of features that I uncovered, it's wild. Like I get a headache thinking about all the stuff that I've been writing about, and like imagining how much effort it would take to do an Android 15 review. It's mind-boggling how much effort that would take to do a review of Android 15, which I unfortunately do not have time for. But if you want to support the work and potentially open up that time, definitely subscribe.
There you go. If you want to see that, then you need to go to patreon.com/MichelleRamon and give a little to get a little. That's how it goes. Thank you, Michelle. What about you, Win?
Hey, I'm an Android dev. That is my day job. And you can find any technical talks that I do about my Android development on my website, randomly typing enunciate.com, including any associated code and video. And otherwise, find me at Creed Code Monkey on places, usually Instagram, but also at Creed Code Monkey at androiddev.social.
Boom. Shaka Laka. Thank you, Win. As for me, just go to youtube.com/@techsploder. You can find all the things that I talked about, and maybe sometimes you get sick of hearing me talk about my YouTube channel, but there are my things that I did. See, nothing here open. It was all prepped for a 3-minute short, and as a result, it got 62 views. It was like, womp, womp. But still, it's a good short little view. So go there and make me feel a little bit better about myself and the time it took to make that. YouTube, what can I say? It's just a learning process each and every day. Some days are way better than others. But anyways, I'm happy to be here with you, as we all are each and every week. For Android Faithful, we love you, and we love talking about Android with each other and for you. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of the community and for supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/Android Faithful. Thank you for going to our website and reading all the wonderful things that we try to put up there for you, androidfaithful.com. What else? You can email us, contact@androidfaithful.com. And when we do more emails again, we'll put that into the feedback section. But really, just you be you, because you're the best you that exists. See you later. Ooh, ran out of time there. Okay.
I think we were sub 2 hours, y'all.
Yeah, well, we didn't.
That was
we
a long
opened
show.
We opened the live stream. We didn't get started for at least 10 minutes, so it's probably an hour 40 minutes is the show.
So not bad.
Yeah.
So not horribly long, but longer than we target. But it's hard to have a shorter show if we want all the news and we're doing those video interviews like that.
Mm-hmm.
The video interviews just tack on.
The video interviews, it definitely would have been like a more regular,
it would have
length
been
show.
That was
without
like
the
10
interviews.
minutes, so. I mean, DOJ's. I mean, we got plenty of tea today with DOJ and
Android
It was
15
a lot.
update. I mean, it's a
Android
big
15.
big news week.
Yeah, it was a big news week.
What can we say?
Exactly. af.showbot.tv if you want to go help us out with the titling. I'm not going to read through all of them because there's a lot, but top picks all about Android 15. That's a little confusing, although I see what you're doing there, Clinton, and I like it.
We like it.
Plashal Rahman. I don't know how Michelle would feel about that one. That's a title that we'll use when Mishal's out, because then he can't defend himself when we put Plashal Rahman in the title. No, we would never do that. Android 15 Avalanche. Will Android cross the Rainbow Bridge? Android 15 mega updates. Plushy news for the Android faithful. Portable PC in your pocket. I like the alliteration there. Imperial buttload of features. That's the one that I really want to use. If I'm honest.
Is it good for SEO? Is
That's
it bad for SEO?
Probably bad for SEO for a number of reasons, but that's really the title that I would prefer. But yeah. But you know what? I'll give you a vote for that just because. Oh, wait, no, not that one. What just happened there? Can I undo the vote? No,
Nope.
It's like, screw you.
But the dude does it Lispra is pretty good too.
There we go. Imperial buttload of features. At least you get an upvote from me.
Dan.
The Pro and the Pro Pro. I like that one. I'll get that one a click. Android Faithful, the movie. The movie.
Grab some popcorn.
In a world. Plushy knows all. Live updates can't go wrong. Boring Android News Day /S. Android 15, the last Google OS. Ooh, that's
I like
compelling.
that one. That has some intrigue.
That is, but is it
Combines two
accurate?
news stories together. I mean,
The last. Oh, I see what
it's
you
referencing the
mean.
DOJ thing, you know.
Ooh.
It's a clever title.
Yeah. Android 15 : the last Google OS, or the last. Yeah, I guess it would be Google OS. Oh, that's interesting. I'll give you a vote. Google's nut cracked open. Pull up the bubble bar. Pull up the bubble bar. The bubble bar. One more thing. Portable pocket PC. Pocket PC. This is why we have spit guards on our mics. Portable pocket PC.
Oh my god, the plosives.
Yeah, I'm gonna wipe that off. Do you even lift, bruh? NVidia Shield, still shielding. Still shielding. It's kind of hard to say. Okay. Now we got to make some choices. Android 15,
My
the
vote
last
is Android
Google
15.
OS.
I vote for that one.
Yeah, there's something compelling about that.
It's mysterious.
I'm not always a huge fan of combining stories together into one title, but that one
That
kind of
works
works
out.
on different levels. What do you think, Wayne?
I'm into it. Let's do
You're
it.
into it? Mm-hmm. Okay. Unfortunately, Imperial buttload of features is
I'm
going to have
sad
to
about
wait
that.
for another episode. You're going to have to
Yes.
say that again sometime so that we can have the excuse. Why is it not working? Stop it. Stop it. Screw you.
Just type it manually.
I want to copy and paste.
If only you had
Android
circle to search on your desktop.
Yes, exactly. Android 15, the last Google OS, ? Oh, that the question mark is important. Okay, cool. We did it. We made it. We survived without Ron.
And hopefully
Excellent
Ron will
work,
survive
y'all.
his butt early flight tomorrow.
Yeah, hopefully he's asleep right now.
Yes, please be asleep, Ron.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ozone, for your wonderful super chat. Sorry I didn't see it earlier. It would have been better if we had kind of thrown it into the conversation it was actually tied to, but I didn't see it.
It's not your fault. Wynn was talking for a long time after the relevant news story, so it's not anybody's fault. It's mine for
I think we all talked for a long time.
Oh yeah.
We did. 2 hours almost.
I did a lot of yapping today.
We all. So say we all. Literally.
So say we all. Okay. Well, I think that's it. I think we got there. I need to end the stream so that all the video can churn in StreamYard so that I'm not up too late editing.
Let me end
and
on
stuff.
X.
But I will say thank you, Google. Google sent me the Pixel 9 Pro. So I now have the 9 Pro. So
Ooh.
I'm
Nice,
going to
nice.
use it, and I'm going to reviews it. And, I forgot until I got it. They are the same size. Like, the 9 and the 9 Pro are the same size. It's
I
just,
believe the same case works for both. I
Yeah.
believe the same case works for both.
yeah, there's just the 9 Pro has the extra lens and the sensor, and I'm
Temperature.
stoked. And the glass is, it's like a frosted glass, and of course the bezel is shiny versus, not. So, anyways, thank you, Google. And thank you, everybody, for watching and
y'all.
listening. I'm going to turn off the stream now. And also, a huge thank you to Michelle's Twitter following. Because there are a lot of you watching
Welcome.
tonight. So thank you for being
Yeah.
here with us.
I can't chat with y'all through StreamYard. It says at the bottom, can't post comments to X,
Yeah.
Twitter. I don't know
That's
why.
lame.
Probably just no
Yeah.
integration with the chat function there. But yeah, definitely know y'all are watching. And I'm kind of
Yeah.
curious if ending the stream here on StreamYard will automatically stop my stream, restream on X.
Yeah, it will.
Well,
It will.
okay.
And then that video will appear in your feed as a video that people can go and rewatch. So it'll be catchable. You know what I mean? It's there for good, unless you removed it. One thing for people watching through Michelle's Twitter is go subscribe. Because if you're not on Twitter and we do the show and you're not subscribed, then you won't get the show, and you should get the show because you like the show. I hope you like the show. And if so, then go subscribe to the show. AndroidFaithful.com. Okay, gonna shut it off now. Bye, everybody. Take care of yourselves. See you tomorrow.